Welcome to the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show with Larry Lawson. As a former career law enforcement officer and law enforcement educator, Larry focuses on the use of tried and true law enforcement investigative techniques in conducting paranormal investigations. Despite his experience and training, Larry also keeps an open mind to discussions on topics that deal with evidence that are not quite as physical in nature. Paranormal Stakeout guests are professionals in the field of the paranormal and parapsychology, conducting the investigations and research needed to further the cause of paranormal study. Larry advocates an agenda of standardization of structure and training in the field of paranormal investigation and research for the purpose of one day being able to produce the evidence needed to convince a jury of the existence of the paranormal. Whether it is ghosts, UFOs, unsolved mysteries, hauntings or cryptids, no topic is beyond the investigative reach of Larry Lawson and the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show team. Now, here is the host of the Paranormal Stakeout radio TV show, Larry Lawson.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from the headquarters of the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation and Indian River Hauntings down here in beautiful Vero Beach, Florida. And it's June 1st. You know what that means in Florida? It's the beginning of the hurricane season. Already we've got a storm sitting out in the Gulf, getting ready to drench us tonight. Don't expect it to do much damage. It's not even going to grow into a huge storm, but we're going to get wet, and it's just the first day of the season. Once again, welcome to the show. I want to tell you, if you want to know a little bit more about our group, you can visit us at paranormalfbi.com or indianriverhauntings.com. You can also catch us on YouTube at Indian River Hauntings 2341. Now, another thing I want to remind everybody is questions, thoughts, comments that you'd like me to bring up here in the show in the very beginning. And to do that, all you got to do is get a hold of me, send a message to ghostguy@paranormalstakeout.org. And with that, I'll get your questions, your thoughts, comments, and we'll talk about it at the beginning of each show. So I want to encourage all of you that are out there listening to do that. I'd really love to hear from you. Now, Paranormal Stakeout, we talk about a lot of things here, and realistically, when you hear paranormal, you think mostly ghosts, maybe cryptids, maybe UFOs, but we tend to forget about the other aspects of the paranormal that are also very important, things that have to do with the mind, the soul, the spirit. And tonight's guest is going to head right down that road right there. Tonight's guest is Ralph HAMELMANN. He's a certified hypnotist, past life regressionist, life coach, palmist, Feng Shui, I think I pronounced it right, consultant, and a life skills coach. He's also a tarot card reader, second generation with 30 years of experience. He's a TV producer. He's an author. It's going to be an interesting show tonight, and I would like to introduce now and welcome to the show, Mr. Ralph HAMELMANN. Ralph, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's interesting. I really like to talk about these other aspects of the paranormal because I just don't think they're covered as much. And you've got quite a varied background. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Ralph HAMELMANN and what you're about?
I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, which I think is a good thing. But that means I've just had a varied career. I currently work as a college professor, and I also work as a life coach who uses tarot and the esoteric divination to guide my clients. I grew up with a mom who read the cards. She was one of Newfoundland's best-known psychics. So for me, this was as normal as growing up Pentecostal or Catholic or any other religion. It was just something that mom did, and I thought was great. And I took it up, and I'm her only she had 4 children, and I'm the only one that probably really uses the tarot like she did.
Now, the tarot cards, do you find that sometimes with the general public that term brings a negative or bad connotation at all? Have you ever experienced that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this for over 30 years, but I was quite closeted about my interest in the tarot. And it's funny because I found it easier to come out as gay than I did about my interest in the spiritual. And it's kind of a reflection of where we are. But I don't think it's just limited to tarot. I think if someone's a devout Christian, they can get, thrown under the bus pretty easily.
That's true these days. I can't argue with you with that. Yeah. Well, so explain to us. Now you're a lot of things, including you have some psychic background also. But tell me about tarot cards. Explain to us what that is, and why is there a negative connotation often amongst the general public?
Well, the way the tarot works is that you have 78 cards in a deck, and the deck is broken into two parts: the major arcana and the minor arcana. And each of the 78 cards in the deck reflect a stage in the human existence. So if I pull a card, it can reflect a period in someone's life that could either be positive or negative. And it all depends on how the cards are aspecting each other, how negative or how positive they are. And the reason why this works is because everything in life is random. If you miss the bus tomorrow, this could cause someone to lose their job, which could cause them to lose their apartment and lose a relationship. So I do believe that everything is connected. There's a randomness to life, and that ties in with our energy field. So when I shuffle the cards and I pull cards for a client, I'm channeling into their energy, and the randomness of whatever is happening in their life will be mirrored back through the randomness of the cards that I pull for them. And then it comes down to interpretation. So I need to look at these cards and try to figure out what messages the universe has for this client. Now, I say the universe, some people might say God, because I almost do see this as a form of prayer. For me, it's a spiritual practice. It's not a game. It's not. And as for the judgment, I think it's because anything that, any spiritual practice that puts us in direct contact with a higher power, whether it's witchcraft, tarot cards, even meditation, I think it has been frowned on by the church, because I don't think we need a middleman between us and the higher power. I think we can connect on our own. And it's not just something I can do, all of us can do this.
What do you think this higher power is? What's your philosophy on that higher power?
I do believe that there is probably the closest thing I can, and this is me being a recovering Catholic, I can say that I do believe in God. And even though I've kind of moved away from the church and its ideologies, and I've moved into paganism, Buddhism, and all these different spiritual practices, the one common thread that has tied it all together for me is a belief in a higher power that is benevolent and loving. And I guess the closest thing I can describe it as is God. So God, the universe, goddess, but I feel it's all the same, different words for the same thing.
So tarot cards itself has a tendency to be connected with folks that are doing roadside or types of readings, maybe less than scrupulous at times.
Oh yeah.
First question on those lines: how does the tarot cards? Explain a little bit better how tarot cards are able to tell you this person's future, the direction this person goes. What is the tarot card supposed to help somebody with?
There's a few things I want to unpack there, because you mentioned the scruples, and I really think one of the main things I want to do when I talk in the media about the tarot is to advise people to always be cautious. If you ever see a psychic who tells you you're cursed and they will remove the curse for $1,000, it's a scam. I will never do that. It's on my website. Right at the top, I will not do that. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in curses. I think that we can think we're cursed, but it's often a way for us to push accountability away and say, oh, it's not my fault that I did all these terrible things. I'm cursed. So that's the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to scruples.
Okay.
I'm very sorry. I forgot. I got so caught up in that passionate speech. I forgot what your other
Well, I want to talk about how you think the energy or whatever on the other side manipulates or puts the tarot cards out to your client and what that means. We'll get to that in a minute, because you really hit something on something very important to me also, and that's the ethics of it all.
Yeah.
Because people that tend to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but search you out, just like they might search us out to deal with a haunting in a house, they're hurting. There's many times some other issue in their life that's causing them distress, and what we do can actually make it worse.
Yeah.
If we're not careful. So let's talk we're coming up on our first break here in a few minutes, but let's talk about those ethics and how we avoid hurting other people.
Well, I mean, the thing is that most people who come to me, you're absolutely right. They are hurting. They are vulnerable. And when you're dealing with vulnerable people, I think that ethics are all the more important. My ethics are, I won't tell a client what to do. I will paint a picture of different outcomes and let them decide how they want to move according to what I see. I don't even make predictions. I'm a psychic who doesn't make predictions, because I think that we're all in control of our fate, and I don't want to take away anyone's personal power. And don't get me wrong, I use my psychic ability, but I'd rather use it to help a person manifest than to help them predict a future that might not be what they want. So to me, what I offer is more valuable.
What do you mean by manifest? You want to help them manifest? Tell me.
Well, I mean, by combining my background as a life coach with the tarot, life coaching is all about, working with the client to identify goals and figure out how to reach them. So I'll sit with a client, do some life coaching, say, okay, let's figure out what you want out of life. And then I'm going to pull the cards and figure out how you can get it. So to me, that's way more empowering than saying to someone, this is your future, you're stuck with it. Oh, sucks to be you. Because that doesn't help anyone. I'd rather say, okay, what do you want out of life? Let me ask the cards if there's a way for you to get there. Because what it does is it creates accountability and empowerment. And that's really in line with my work as a life coach and my own personal philosophy.
Okay. So as a life coach, you're also a hypnotist. Does this all wrap up into your work as a life coach? And what exactly is a life coach?
So a life coach is different than a therapist. A session with me might feel like therapy, but the big difference is that a life coach is more interested in the present moment. I mean, I will connect the past with the present just to have an understanding, but I really stay here. So you're not going to talk about your horrible childhood over and over. I'm just going to say, okay, what do you want out of life? Let's figure out how to get there. And the hypnotism comes in because I always give my clients tools. I won't just say this is the goal you need to reach. I like to give them tools as well to get there. And I saw hypnosis as just another tool that I could use with my clients. Because a lot of the times, everything we want is within reach. We just need to get out of our own way. And that's where hypnotism can be a really powerful tool. But so can meditation. There's so many wonderful tools out there. But I think clients, the one thing I really believe is that if you come to see me, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know. But it might be so buried inside you that you haven't really given yourself permission to explore this part of yourself. Because if I said to you, you're going to become a rocket scientist and join NASA, you'd probably say, well, Psychic Ralph is pretty weird.
Well, we're about ready to take our first break. This is already jotted off pretty quickly here. So when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit more about what it is you do to help other folks. So ladies and gentlemen, stay with us on Paranormal Stakeout. And my guest, Ralph HAMELMANN, will be back after these messages.
Question: what is the name of the unique blend of coffee you get that has been formulated by a neurologist, a neurobiologist, and a pharmaceutical chemist? Answer: you get Beautiful Mind Coffee, a unique coffee blend that tastes great and has herbal ingredients that your brain will love, and it is not just coffee, it's brainalicious. Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Chang, and Dr. Winslow, the scientific team that created Beautiful Mind Coffee, decided to collaborate on a coffee focusing on brain health. As for those herbal ingredients found in Beautiful Mind Coffee, Dr. Rathbone, Dr. Jang, and Dr. Winslow, utilizing their combined extensive scientific research background, worked with many natural and herbal products until the exact formulation that is found in Beautiful Mind Coffee was created. With a unique scientific formula not found in any other coffee being sold or served, Beautiful Mind Coffee is the only coffee blend that contains 3 herbal ingredients found to aid in boosting your daily mental clarity and focus. Every cup of Beautiful Mind Coffee contains scientifically formulated amounts of maca root powder, green tea extract, and American ginseng, all supporting good brain health. Taking care of your brain's health now can help delay or prevent the onset of cognitive dysfunction, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and more general memory loss as you get older, just by enjoying the delicious flavor of our roasted coffee and herbal ingredients found exclusively in Beautiful Mind Coffee. Did you know that cognitive dysfunction also refers to deficits in attention, verbal and non-verbal learning, short-term and working memory, visual and auditory processing, problem-solving, processing speed, and motor functioning? For more on Beautiful Mind Coffee, the 3 scientists who formulated Beautiful Mind Coffee, and more details on the 3 unique herbal ingredients in Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca. Beautiful Mind Coffee is now available online at amazon.ca and amazon.com. To order Beautiful Mind Coffee, visit www.beautifulmindcoffee.ca today.
And we are back on Paranormal Stakeout with my guest tonight, Ralph HAMELMANN, a hypnotist, regressionist, and tarot card reader. Now, before we went to the break, we were talking a little bit about how this all works. And I like how you describe the difference between a life coach and a therapist. That does make a lot of sense to me. But you're also a regressionist. What exactly does that mean, and how does that fit into what you do?
Past life regression, I think the universe is constantly trying to speak to us. Mm-hmm. And the truth of the matter is we could go to a psychic or a past life regressionist, but I think everything we need is within ourselves. And I think that if everyone listened to their intuition, the world would be a better place and I would be out of a job, but I'd be okay working at Starbucks or Second Cup or whatever. I think the reality is that tarot is a tool that some people will navigate towards. Past life regression is another tool, but to me, they kind of serve the same purpose. So when I take someone, it's into the past, it's under hypnosis, and while there, they will have they'll be asked to describe everything that they're seeing. The most important thing that I always want clients to know is that some people might feel that they're making up a story, and some people might have vivid memories. We need to get past how real it seems, because it's not how real it seems, it's about the symbolism of the story and how that relates to your current life. That's where there are all these rich nuggets of information that can help a person navigate their current situations. So I always say it's kind of like if you read a really good book or watch a movie that can really impact you, why shouldn't a story, real or imagined, that comes from your own subconscious mind have an even more profound impact on how you navigate your life today? So I don't go in there. I do believe in past lives, but I never work with a client pushing my personal beliefs or agenda on them, because that's just not good boundaries. Again, those crazy ethics that I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. So when I do work with a client in past life regression, some people might believe in it, and some people might just see the value of the psychology of the story that they're creating. Either way, it can help them.
So your thought about past, and I understand that you believe in past lives, but are you also suggesting that sometimes the past life regression could be something that the mind has actually created within itself and actually didn't happen?
Yeah. It's really all about perception, and I've met a lot of light workers who are so dogmatic about their beliefs that I just promised myself I would never ever become one of those, and just really allow people to come to me with their own beliefs, and from that perspective, I can still help them without making them feel like they've joined a cult. I don't think that's necessary. I can still say to someone, hey, you're a Buddhist, great. You're Christian, great. You're atheist, whatever, awesome. And I can still help them the same way. So a person's belief system doesn't have to clutter the work I do, because I do believe there are messages that the universe has for us. And even if you don't believe in the universe, I'm sure people believe in their higher self. So it's really about getting those messages, and if they resonate, hold on to them. If they don't, throw them away.
So that leads into a question that I started to bring up a little bit earlier, and that's the connection between the tarot cards, past life regression, all of the tools that you use, and this belief that's fairly widespread today about belief in the other side, life after death, spirits maybe channeling through somebody to give us information through a psychic, or contacting us ourselves. How does that all work in to what you do, or is there no connection?
I believe that we all have different language for the same thing. I mean, I think that I think that all religions have their beauty, and I think they all have their brilliance. They all have their shadow, and there's been some really terrible things done in the name of religion. I do believe that I'm not a medium, but a medium works with spirit. I work with the universe. I tend to wonder if it's really the same thing, that maybe we're using different words for the same thing. And I try not to get caught up in the semantics of it all, because I think we're spending too much time trying to discuss the message rather than listen to the message. We need to kind of step back and say, okay, there's a message here. Do I need to really understand where it's coming from and what it is, or can I just really take the message for what it's worth and say, hey, there's some wisdom here. I need to apply this to my life.
So you're not so sure there's a difference between the term spirit guide, or the universe. Are you suggesting perhaps a collective type of collective mind, collective hive, centralized
The Borg.
place? Yeah, the Borg, yeah. Some sort of centralized intelligence that is perhaps guiding us all?
I do believe there is a benevolent force. I mean, like the most obvious one is nature. If you look at evolution, how on God's earth did the whale go from a land mammal to this massive creature in the ocean? I mean, that right there tells me there is some sort of force at work. And I've seen it so often with the work I do, but I try not to get too caught up in the labels and the because a lot of my clients are South Asian, so I get a lot of clients who are Hindu. I come from my reference point is being a recovering Catholic. So you would think, well, how on God's earth do you relate to spiritually? Well, it's easy, because I get rid of all that noise, and I deal with, I'm a human, they're a human, and I just try to sense whatever energies I can from this benevolent universe, that whatever messages they need to hear right here, right now. So if I became really preachy and started talking about God and Jesus, well, I did that, even though I love the symbolism of both. I just don't think would be appropriate, because they might be thinking, well, I don't really believe in that. And they might feel like I'm preaching, and that's not really my goal. It's something different.
Okay.
I mean, I'm here to help people.
Okay, and that I can appreciate that. So let's get back to the mechanics a little bit. So you have a client that comes to you. They normally come to you wanting to somehow deal with some sort of problem. You use the tarot cards as the tool. What do the tarot cards tell you, and how do you read them? Is it something you could explain to me? That is, I mean, I know you could explain it, but I mean,
well, the thing that's interesting about the tarot is that, like I said, there's 78 cards in the standard deck, and each card represents a different part of the human journey. And so when you look at this card, it's like, oh, okay, you're going through this part of the journey and that part. The way I work with it is, I like I said, I don't look at the future. I stay in the present. But I feel that the present moment is where everything counts. Like right here, right now, is the where you can make new decisions and start new thought processes. But when I actually pull the cards, I do 3 card spreads, and each card will have its meaning. But I kind of look at it like doing a jigsaw puzzle, because if I gave you a half-completed jigsaw puzzle, your brain would fill in what's the pieces that are missing and know what there's a butterfly or a cat or whatever the image is. I do the same thing with the tarot. So I'll have 3 cards, and they're telling part of the story. And then my brain will fill in the rest. And that part of my brain is the psychic part. And I tend to focus more on the piece in between that connects the cards than the cards themselves. And that's where the psychic part comes in. So I call it, what I do is intuitive reading. I'm not purely reading the cards. I'm sensing. I'm an empath, so I feel a lot of things. So I'm actually tuning into the energy of the client, the cards, messages from the universe. So it's a very complex things coming from all over the place. But I've been doing it for so long, it's not hard for me at all. Mm-hmm. But it's like learning a new language. You know, if you started learning to speak French, in the beginning you might find it difficult, but after a while you're fluent. And I'm at a point now that I've been doing this so long, there's a fluency. And at least I would hope there is. Maybe I need to work at Starbucks. Or that wonderful coffee place. I was watching your commercial thinking, wow, that looks really good. But yeah, so it's really about just trusting yourself too, because I think when I first got into reading, I would get information and I would doubt it, and I would think, oh no, I can't. And then I would, they would mention their partner's a Gemini. I'd be like, oh, I knew that. I should have said it. And I think a lot of psychics struggle with that too. Just really trusting the information that is coming and just say it. And it's okay to be wrong.
It seems like you look at a lot of this almost practically and looking at the how the person is living their life, but at the same time, spirit, the universe, something on the other side is guiding you to interpret the cards. And have I got that correct?
Yeah, I think the other side and this side, I personally think are all in one. I think we are. I think while we're here on this earth plane, time is a restriction, but in the afterlife, which I do believe in, I don't believe time exists. So we exist there while we exist here. So our soul chose our parent when we came into this world. And we, in this world, have free choice. That's why I don't believe in fate. I think fate does exist, but I think choice always overrides it. And a lot of times we make the wrong choices. And I've always said that, if we make all of our choices out of love, we end up in a great place. But if we make our choices out of fear, not so good. And my job is to really help get the client on track to making better choices, tapping into that love. And often it's really love for yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the key to finding happiness. It's just really, sorry, my cat's in the way here. But yeah, I think that's really the key to happiness. I think we already know this information. It might be buried, and my job is to help bring it to the surface so that the client can walk away having a sense of hope, having a sense of direction, and maybe having a better understanding of why they've been making the bad choices they have.
Interesting. Well, we're going to be taking our next break here in just a few seconds. But when we come back, I'd like to talk to you about how you got here, not only in your personal life, but in your professional life, how you actually got to this point. So folks, stay with us. I've got a lot to talk about with my guest today, Ralph HAMELMANN, here on Paranormal Stakeout. See you right after these messages.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
And welcome back to the show with my guest tonight, Ralph HAMELMANN. Ralph, how you've shared with us your philosophies, what you believe the other side is like, how the other side guides you in not only reading tarot, but in your regression therapy. But I got to ask you, how do you know? How do you know this is what's happening?
I always say that the measure of any psychic is their ability to manifest in their own life. And I got a Wikipedia page full of things that I'm very proud of, awards and a gold record for a song I wrote. And
yeah, we're going to talk about that in just
a minute. So but to me, that's a true measure, because if someone is giving advice and guiding other people, I mean, has their own inner compass. And if their inner compass isn't great, maybe they're not the right person to speak to. I know that might sound a bit elitist, but I think, facts are facts, and it's an important variable.
Well, that is part of my question. How do you know that that's a fact? What have you learned? What has the other side told you? How do you know that, for example, that choice is nice, but we have our dominion over our own lives? How do you know that to be the actual way, in your opinion?
It's this is something I never learned in a course. This is something that I guess I've always had a knowing. I remember when I was 6 years old, being at church, and our parish priest was going on about eternal damnation and fire and brimstone. And I remember sitting there at 6 years old and knowing this man was lying, that we had a loving God, and this is not the way it works. And I just knew it in my heart and soul. I don't know where that knowledge came from, but I've never questioned it. And I've had that, you can call it common sense, you can call it sixth sense, again, labels, semantics. Mm-hmm. But there's always been that knowing that I've had, and I've learned to trust it. I'm a Cancer. Cancers are very intuitive. I understand you are as well. And you probably have a brilliant intuition that you need to tap into.
No, I'm sensitive as a rock. but getting back to the question, and I understand where you're coming from. And one thing I have learned over the years, have an open mind. But you'll talk, especially today, nobody can have a civil discussion because I'm right, no, I'm right. Folks, I've talked to many psychics, mediums, folks in the paranormal field that say this is the way, this is the the right way. This is how it works.
Mm-hmm.
How come nobody is exactly the same? How does one person know they're right, but maybe the other person isn't right? Am I making sense?
Yeah, and that's why I'm the guy who doesn't want to define anything and use semantics and get caught up in that language, because I want to give room for everyone to have their own journey, their own language, their own beliefs. And I think that once I start coming in as a know-it-all, my ego is out of control. And I'm going to tell you, giving a reading is one of the most ego-free, it should be an ego-free process. Because once my ego is engaged, I've lost connection. I've completely severed the ties. So once you just kind of let go of everything you believe, focus on what the client is going through and what their higher self and how you can connect them with that, it's a clear path. But if your ego's involved and you're like, well, no, this is what I should do and this is what they should do, it's no longer a reading. It's no longer a spiritual process. You become a lecturing parent. And it's a different way of doing things.
Is that and I do not want to put you in a position of judging others, so don't misunderstand me, but as a rule in your field with your helping folks, is that a common problem? Or is it, or do most folks, in your opinion, in your field, are able to check their egos such as that way?
I've met a considerable amount of psychics. I mean, my mother's a psychic. I think in their heart they all want to do the right thing, but there are people in the industry who just want to make an easy buck, and those are the ones who talk about curses. They don't give a damn about people. They really want to make money, exploit the vulnerable, and they give all of us a bad name, and it kills me. It's just an awful thing.
How do we police that then?
Well, I actually wish that there was that we were regulated in some ways, or I wish that people who do ask for money could be reported to a body that can have them removed, and I don't think it would hurt. But the thing is, because we're so out there, there's no body that regulates us.
Then how do we prove to folks this person's a charlatan and this person is honest and ethical? How do we prove that? Do you have any advice or thoughts there?
I always say look at the Google reviews. I've been very blessed with some very wonderful clients who've said very nice things about me, but Google reviews are always a good way. Don't just read the good ones, read the bad ones. I have a couple of negatives, read them. Maybe you might say, hey, he's not for me, and that's fine. I'm not here to do a sales pitch, but I also think the people who really do the sales pitch and really pushing you to do readings and really trying to make money are the last person you should go to. We're trying to make a living. You don't go to the doctor and expect free. Well, actually, Canada we do. We get free care. But I'll take that one back.
Down here in the States, it's a little different.
I know. But when we do go to anyone for service, we have to pay. So I get people who think because of the work I do, I should do it for free. No, I have 3 cats. I got to feed them. Sorry, I wish I could. But I think that people need to be cautious. So read the reviews, listen to your intuition. If on their website they talk about curses and all this stuff, curse removal and all that stuff, run. I offer magic spells on my website, but mine are free. I actually have a free magic spell. People watching right now can go on my
Interesting.
website. Yeah, and I do it as a free service. It's
Are you Wiccan? I mean, do you practice?
I'm pagan, but I like my symbol of the mother is the Virgin Mary. So I brought in my Christian because Christianity and paganism are so similar. I mean, one became the other. So like Easter is a pagan festival, and so is Christmas. Like there's so many ties together. So I don't really see a difference. But yeah, I am Wiccan, I am pagan, and I do offer free magic spells.
It's free. Okay.
Yeah. So someone can go on my website and under free stuff. I have some other stuff that's free.
And see, in our field, because the paranormal research field is not something that is regulated or has recognized training, something I'm hoping to change in the future. So that's why folks that anybody reputable that are paranormal investigators and researchers, we don't charge. We don't. But it's a little different. Our situation is a little different. You, however, life coach, hypnotist, you also get training. What kind of training have you received to be in the position you are today?
For the hypnosis, I studied at the University of Toronto with a wonderful, one of the world's most prominent people in hypnosis, Georgina Cannon. Mm-hmm. So I did my training with her at the University of Toronto. Life skills coaching I did at George Brown College. I also did another program in life skills at the IAP Career College. And mm-hmm. tarot I grew up with, so I learned it. It's kind of like a family thing. So
almost a trade, yeah. So that's a huge difference between what folks in my area do and what you do. So I can understand that certainly the payment there. Do you find that the folks that come to you are looking for answers from you just from the tarot, or do they listen to your training? They listen to your advice from your training?
I think the because I fall under the psychic category, I'm Psychic Ralph, it's my brand.
Yeah.
I think clients come to me expecting it to be all tarot, and I say all over my website, it's like I will do life coaching, and I have to figure out the lay of the land before mm-hmm. I had a client the other day who came to me and said, I said, what's your goal? And she said, I want to improve my finances. I said, great, let's do some life coaching. In 2 minutes, I realized the issue wasn't her finances, it was the fact that she had a partner that hasn't worked in 10 years. So yeah, that was having an effect on her finances, but if I had just jumped in with the tarot, I would have gone down the wrong path. So the life coaching helps me to figure out really what the issue is, and then from there I can start pulling cards. It is a hybrid. It's not just one, it's not the other, it's both. They go together really well too, actually.
Well, once again, I'm interested in the fact that you combine the practical, for lack of a better term, as well as the spiritual with the tarot cards. Yes. How folks that are in your business with the tarot cards, how often do they have the same type of therapy type training that you have to go along with it as compared to just straight tarot? Is that
the life coaching there's more and more psychics who are working from that point of view. It's not mainstream, but it's definitely becoming more of a thing. And I mean, fortune telling is something I don't do. It's the predictions. It's mm-hmm. I don't think it helps people, and I don't really know if it's tapping into the energies that I want to tap into. Whereas I feel what I'm doing as a life coach, I'm really working with the higher self and the potential of what the person can have.
When you're dealing with folks, and obviously you're right, they're going to see tarot, and the fact that you're psychic, Ralph, how often do they come to you talking about visitation or connection to the other side?
Oh, I get it. I do get it sometimes. I've had clients who believe they're cursed. Mm-hmm. I've had clients come to me because another psychic told them they're cursed and wants $1,000, and they'll say, don't spend your money. And I will actually do a prayer with them for free as part of the session. They'll say, look, save $1,000. As part of this session, I will, do a prayer, but you're not cursed. Mm-hmm. I've had clients who believe that their home has a ghost. And I think a lot of these times, if we are feeling psychologically vulnerable, if we're going through a really hard time, that's when we become more, we draw this energy in more. And so when I work with those people, it's really about how to boost their energy field. I do have some tools that can help them with protection. And I'm going to say, I also have some recipes for free on my website under free stuff. There's magic oils, and there's a protection oil recipe that I'm giving away for free. And if you feel like you need protection.
Awesome. Well, when we come back after this last break, I want to hear about some of the other stuff that you're doing. I mean, you're music and teaching and author. So we're going to talk a bit about that when we come back.
All
so
right.
Stay with us, folks. Come back after these messages. with Ralph Hamelmann, Psychic Ralph. We'll be right back.
NASA has confirmed that they have evidence of life beyond Earth.
This discovery is confirmed.
Well, let's see, we've had visitors again. Yeah. Probably worth mentioning.
I filmed 16 minutes on March 5th, 1994, 16 minutes of broad daylight UFO activity.
The other side, the spirit realm, is a parallel dimension which runs, which coexists with ours. And what spirits are doing is they're sending waves of frequency from that dimension to ours.
The government instituted the truth embargo. The government poured disinformation and misinformation into this field, encouraging hoaxes and any other foolishness. It created a truth vacuum that naturally was going to be filled with theories and assertions and other stuff.
The oil oligarchs and the banks and the people who are making decisions that are leading us down the wrong path.
They've undermined the research, intimidated and threatened witnesses. The government is responsible for the fact that the status of this issue is not resolved.
I'm Rob McConnell, host and executive producer of the X-Zone radio show. Now we are set to bring the amazing world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology to broadcast TV and online video with the development of X-Zone TV. X-Zone TV will now bring our loyal listeners and new viewers face to face with the most controversial and well-known personalities in the field of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. From scientists to theorists, astronauts to adventurers, celebrities, pundits, advocates, and naysayers, they'll all join our rapid-fire TV broadcast, interactive discussion, and debate. Interest in the paranormal and parapsychology has never been more intense, and it continues to grow. The truth is out there, so take a deep breath and join us as we step into the light. For more information about X-Zone TV, please contact me, Rob McConnell, directly at these coordinates, Rob McConnell at xzonetv.com.
And we are back on Paranormal Stakeout. My guest tonight, Psychic Ralph Hamelmann, and it's been a pleasure. We've covered a lot of ground tonight. I find it very, very fascinating what you do and how you do it. But I want to remind everybody out there also to check us out at paranormalfbi.com or IndianRiverHauntings.com, and you can check us out on YouTube at Indian River Hauntings 2341. Most importantly, I don't want you to forget the terrific programming we have on the X-Zone Broadcast Nation at xzbn.net. Go to xzbn.net to see some really terrific programming that covers all aspects of the paranormal. So with that, Ralph, we've talked a lot about what you do, delved into your philosophy, your ethics, but you do so many other things besides just tarot card reading and life coaching. You created a thing called the Psychic Brunch. You've created 24 hours, a daily horoscope. Fill us in. What are some of these other things that you do, and how can people get a hold of you?
I feel sometimes having too many options is worse than not having enough, because I think there's so many things I love doing. Music has always been a big part of my life. I've been playing guitar since I was 10, so it's like 45 years of playing guitar. I have a gold record for a song I co-wrote. I co-wrote a a couple of other songs that hit #1 on iTunes Canada's one of their charts. And the book I published was a comic book, because I used to have a syndicated cartoon strip way back in my 20s. This is like in another life. And I did all these things, and I feel that a lot of psychics that I've met are highly, highly creative people. And I think you need to have a creative outlet in addition to this, because the work that I do with people can be very intense. And it's really nice to be able to take that energy and just put it into a song or put it into a cartoon. And yeah, I just think it's a vital part. I just feel very blessed that I've been able to do that work and get recognition for it. In order to reach me, I have a website, psychicralph.com. And on my socials, is it okay if I share the socials, or?
Sure.
I had to write them down because I'm an old man who doesn't use it that often. Instagram, it's Ask Psychic Ralph. There's a picture of me with my cat in the picture. On YouTube, it's Psychic Ralph. And TikTok, Ask Psychic Ralph. I have a new series I started, which is an advice column. So I have first half of it is advice for people who want to send in questions. And then the second part is I take a look at different people in pop culture and do a reading on what's going on there. So that's a new project I started about a month ago.
What's that called?
Ask Psychic Ralph.
Yeah, okay.
So if you go on my socials, that's really predominantly what you'll see there.
Okay. What is the Psychic Brunch? What is your founder of that? It's back in 2003. What was that? Psychic Brunch
has been on hold since COVID, but we're probably coming out of retirement very soon. I've been in talks with a couple of psychics. The way it worked is you would come to the event. It's an in-person event, not online, and you would get 2 or 3 readings from 2 or 3 different psychics, bundled together with a meal voucher. So you and a friend can go out, and so the reading becomes more of a social activity. So you and your girlfriend can go out and get a reading and have a meal. It's kind of fun.
What I understand it's a creative outlet, but what are you hoping to accomplish by getting out like this?
As a psychic?
As a psychic, all the things that you do, the Psychic Brunch, your advice page, what is your goal? What are you wanting to do with that?
It's funny. I mean, as a life coach who works on goals, you would think I would have more of a clear sense. I just feel compelled to do this. For years, I did this work very much in the closet. I did this. That's why I started the Psychic Brunch, because my name wasn't out there. It was the Psychic Brunch where I did readings. And especially during COVID, the event stopped. So I would say probably about 10 years ago, though, is when I finally came out as a psychic. And like on my social media on Facebook, the people I have as friends there see me as, maybe I was their college professor, friends, colleagues, and all of a sudden I'm promoting myself. And I'm sure as a former police officer who's now working in paranormal investigation, you can probably really relate to what I'm talking about. You're going from one world to another, where some people raise their eyebrows, but I am. I have to be authentic.
How much pushback, anger, distrust have you personally been subjected to or had to go through in this?
None.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't experienced any directly, but I have seen, like when I watched not Colbert, but the other British guy who does the John Oliver. He did a nasty segment on mediums. It basically said they're all crooks, and I thought, whoa, John, do your homework, do your research. You're putting everyone in one box. That's really offensive. For someone who's a liberal on the far left. Come on, You're doing the very thing that you accuse the right of doing all the time. So, come on, hypocrisy much, right? My mother had a New Age store in Newfoundland, and I know that she would get crank phone calls, and I know she played them for me. It would bother me. This is my mom, But personally, not so much. But I'm in a very, very liberal-minded city, Toronto, and if any of your viewers hate people, like, don't call me. I'd like to keep my track record going really well. But I think one of the things too is that I think the way I present myself as well, that I talk about the ethics, and I really do come at this from the point of view of wanting to help people rather than get rich. I think people can feel that, and I do wonder if maybe that level of sincerity helps as well. But I also think where you live and what you also attract, it's really important that if someone is doing this work, that you have to really set psychic boundaries, that you don't want to attract people who are negative, and just say, no, I want to push it away.
Are we ever going to be able to do that with mankind being what mankind is? Are we ever going to get to a point where folks will actually accept others?
Well, I mean, if you'd asked me before 2016, I would have said sure. But in 2016, a certain event happened that made me question the direction humanity's going in. I won't mention it because I won't bring politics into your show. But
we don't want to do that.
No, we don't. No, but I do think that it kind of ties in with what I said earlier about choosing love over fear. I mean, if we go through life with fear, I think that we end up in a bad place. But if we go through life, trying to understand with a sense of curiosity, I think, will we ever get there? I don't know. I hope so. I think we are evolving, and I think that's why, like, this idea of past lives and coming back, is the whole purpose. Is kind of like putting water in a Brita filter, as you hope that eventually it will become pure. And I think that's the reason why we're here. We just need to learn.
You've mentioned you're a college professor. Can you tell us where you teach? Is it?
Yeah, I've been teaching at George Brown College for, 23 years. And I started in the editorial program, which I still teach in. I run the work placement there. But my passion project, the course that I really love, is the public speaking course. I do like to talk, in case you haven't noticed. What I love about that course is that I get a lot of students from different countries where maybe they weren't really given weren't empowered to speak. And working with these people and helping them find their voice, build their confidence, is profound. It is so rewarding. I would do it for free, but don't tell the college, because they would probably take me up on that.
Well, and I think that's what I'm getting at. You have this outlet to share your thoughts in. I'm a big believer in colleges are a place where everybody has a right to express themselves, but at least as an instructor, you have that opportunity to share that philosophy. That so I think that's very positive. In our last few minutes together, where do you see Ralph Hamelmann going? Where will you be in 5 years? And what do you want your work to end up accomplishing?
I feel like I'm doing my work on a micro level rather than a macro level. But I am adding something else to my skills. I'm in the process of doing this, where I want to become an emotional intelligence coach, because I think that EQ is a really important thing, especially for men. I think men have the same emotions as women. I think we just need to find the vocabulary. We need to learn to express. We need to tune into those feelings. Women are way smarter than men when it comes to emotional intelligence, and maybe even every type of intelligence. But I do think that is a direction where I really feel passionate about going. And again, it ties in really well with the other things that I offer. So I think that is probably where I see myself in the next 5 years, really broadening. I continue doing. I still want to teach at the college. I mean, hey, I'm one of the few people that actually loves what I do. I get to help people for a living. That's amazing. I have the best job in the world. But I do think the emotional intelligence is an area where people need a lot of help, and that's kind of what I see over and over with my clients. I'll get women who, talk about their husbands, their lack of emotional intelligence. But then I'll look at those women and say, well, why are you drawn to the bad boy? You've got to work on your own emotional intelligence. So it's on every side, and I probably have my own stuff to work on when I do the course, and I'm excited about that. So I would say, if I had to describe it, I would say my mission is just to really help people, to help them grow, and just finding new ways to do it. I don't ever want to land, though. I always want to keep evolving, because I think that's part of the fun.
Well, it's been an interesting conversation. Unfortunately, as usual, I run out of time. I've got other places I'd like to go as far as questions that I have for you, but maybe we'll have to do that another time. But I want to thank you, Ralph, for joining us tonight. And I'd like to thank all of you out there for joining us also for this episode of Paranormal Stakeout. So until next time, stay safe, love your family, and we'll see you on the other side. Have a good night, folks.